Hello. So, luckily I have my phone ready because Teams on my laptop has just died, which is fantastic. So I'm going to try and get that back up and running, so that I can share stuff with you. Now let me just check that it is still recording, even though it has. Yes, so it does still look like it's recording. Fantastic. Sorry about that. And my laptop is loading back up again, so hopefully we'll be back in business soon. Okay. I'll start to run through the PowerPoint I've got, and then I'll try and share it in just a moment. Bear with me one moment. I think. The first thing I should say is we're getting there, I promise. Okay, that should be better. Okay. What I'm gonna have to do. What did it do? Bear with me a second. Sorry. Okay, that should be better. Okay, what I'm going to do. Can everybody hear me and see me okay now? Without any feedback. Rob, are we all right?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to do. Sorry about that. My laptop's really not coping, but my phone remarkably is. So what I'm going to do is what I hope to be able to do via Teams is that I was going to share a PowerPoint that I would work through the slides. The meeting's still being shared, being recorded. What I'm going to do is I will talk through those slides. I'm going to see if I can email it to Mr. Humphreys, see if he can share it on his screen. And then I should be able to talk through anything. I'll email it to Mr. Humphreys and start talking through it. And if Mr. Humphreys can share it, then you should be able to see it and hear what I'm saying. So I'm going to just try and work on that, but it's not the start that I wanted. But this is the biggest Teams meeting that Sheldon School has had so far. I had one a couple of weeks ago, which had 75 people in it. This one's got over 130 now. So that's probably why my laptop's not dealing with it very well. Okay. What we're trying to do tonight is try and recreate a little bit of what we would have done last week when the induction day was planned. And at the start of that day, I would have done an assembly for the New Year 12, and in that assembly, I would have covered the sort of things that I'm going to cover with you now. I suppose the added bonus is on that induction day that should have taken place last week, it would have just been aimed at the students, and this way we're going to be able to share that information with parents as well directly rather than sharing it after the event. I'm Eugene Spiers, I'm the head of sixth form. With us tonight also is Mr. Humphreys, who is currently the head of year 13 but will be the head of year 12 in September, because our heads of year rotate from one year to the next. And so Mr. Humphreys will be the head of year 12 in September. Not with us tonight, but key people that I hope I'll be able to show you on the screen in a minute when Mr. Humphreys gets my PowerPoint, is other people you may have spoken to already. So we've got Paula Humphreys, is our sixth form administrator. Many of you would have spoken to. She's been sending out bridging work to our external students and taking inquiries from lots of you with various questions and queries. She's a key person. She's in the sixth form office most of the time, and is really important in terms of the day-to-day logistics in the sixth form. Another key person whose name will be important is Jenny Coombs. Jenny Coombs works in pupil support, and she has a particular remit for supporting sixth form students with non-academic issues. So anything which is not academic related. So, you know, bereavement, anxiety, all that sort of stuff. She's the first port of call for those sort of issues. Okay. So, Mr. Humphries, I've just sent you the PowerPoint. If you can share that on your screen in a minute, that'd be great. But I'll start talking through my slides anyway. What I want to cover really in the next sort of 25 minutes or so, and then we'll take some questions, is obviously it's a very odd situation to be welcoming you to the sixth form like this, but it is supposed to kind of say we have been thinking about you despite all this. I've, you know, my heart goes out to the year 11s who are building up to do their exams. We've not been able to do that. But we're working to make your sixth form experience every bit as normal as it can be come September. Do something like this, so as we would have done ordinarily anyway. I'm going to talk through some key expectations, what it means to be a Sheldon sixth former, some key opportunities that will come your way being in the sixth form at Sheldon, what's going to happen from this point onwards in terms of enrolment and results day, and some idea of what September is going to look like, or how September might look different, to try and prepare you for some of the small changes that might be taking place in September. And then I'll be able to take some questions, and I've already had a couple through via email. So let me just go on to my next slide. The first slide really is unfortunately it's a bit about me. I was just saying that I've been at Sheldon School for 2 years. I came in as the assistant head teacher to run the sixth form, head of sixth form and assistant head teacher. Prior to that, I was 7 years at John of Gaunt in Trowbridge. Prior to that, a year in Bath, and before that, 10 years in London. I've been on leadership teams for about 10 years. This is my first head of sixth form role. I was an acting head of sixth form once previously, and it's a brilliant job and a great place to work. And I'm really looking forward to working with you as a year group. The slide that hopefully I'll be able to show you soon, and I'll share afterwards if not, is a picture of me, but you got me here. And then kind of a mantra that I started with students 2 years ago when I started, which is hopefully pretty simple, which is my underlying ethos about the whole thing really, which is work smart, be kind and keep trying. And that's something that I will be saying fairly consistently throughout induction, through assemblies, through tutor time. Because for me, everything we do really can come back to those three things. If you work hard, work smart, actually, use your time effectively in the sixth form, then you can go on to achieve, you know, whatever it is you're hoping to achieve. If you've got no idea what you want to do yet, then we'll help you to find possibilities as well. I think it's really important that people are kind to each other. I don't think that takes much explanation, but that's obviously even more important given what's been happening over the recent months. And we expect and hope that people will. It's going to be tough. A levels, which most people will be doing, are tough, and some people will find them tougher than others. And you need to seek help and get support from your teachers, your tutors, and the people around you. So work smart, be kind, and keep trying are key things that are important to me as a head of sixth form, and that I will come back to time and time again throughout your time. Okay, Mr. Humphries, have you got the PowerPoint?
It's loading up now. Just give me a minute.
No worries. So I'll continue. So my next slide was just about introducing people. So I'll come back to that when I could show you who they are. So in terms of our key expectations, most of this isn't new. Lots of your, the students here that are in this call and the parents will know lots of these things already, the things that we expect lower down the school. We expect students to have great attendance and to be punctual, And we know that there's a correlation between good attendance and good punctuality and success in the sixth form. I think that's worth repeating for the sixth form, because some students, I think that they're going to get a lot more freedom, and they do have a certain degree more freedom, but we do expect that the key things like being on time for lessons and being at your lesson, unless there's a really good reason not to, continue. The second part of the expectations is what we call always something to do. Here we go. The Humphreys might be just about to share. Fantastic. Always something to do is basically one of the key kind of new freedoms that students will have, is that they will have study time. So we operate a 2-week timetable that everybody who knows Sheldon will know about already. People new to the school, we run a 2-week timetable. So your timetable will go over a 2-week period and then repeat. And in that 2 weeks, there are 60 lessons in total. So six a day, 5 days a week, times 2. And if a student is doing 4 subjects, they would have 44 lessons of A-level contact time. And if obviously you're doing 3, that would be 33, 11 50-minute lessons per subject over that fortnight. So the mathematicians among you will spot that there is a certain chunk of your time is study time. What students like to call free periods, and what we prefer to call study periods. And so there's another mantra that we will repeat a lot, which is always something to do. Students, of course, will have some time in that study time where they've just come from a lesson which has been challenging, or they've just done a test or something, and they'll want to grab a drink and have a chat to their friends. But what we're saying is that the most successful students always have something to do. Whether it's homework that's been set or not, students will be going back over notes that they've looked at, and the most successful students will be using their study time really effectively. Of course, we want there to be a social element to school, but if you use your study time effectively from the start of the year and get into really good habits with your study time, then you will be much more effective come the end of your A-levels in terms of the grades that you get. And we've got a thing on there that says 12 to 15 hours per week. It will depend on the A-levels you're doing, but roughly we say that for each A-level subject you're doing 3 hours of work outside of lessons per week is something that very successful students tend to do. Obviously, the next point is about meeting deadlines. You're going to have far fewer subjects than when you do your GCSEs, but it's still really important to keep on top of those deadlines. Students will have a planner still, paper planner. Lots of students, though, will be doing, organising themselves electronically these days, but it's really important to keep on top of those deadlines right from the start of the year. The fourth one on our key expectations is about seeking support from tutors and teachers. Every sixth form student will have a tutor, and I'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. You'll see that tutor at morning registration and in the afternoon, so you'll see your tutor every day for half an hour at least. So your tutor is often the first port of call for, I think I've picked the wrong A-level subject, or I'm really struggling with this and I need some help. So your tutor is a kind of a go-to person on the first in the first instance. And obviously subject teachers are really important. If there's a particular part of a particular topic that you're not understanding, then obviously they're a very important port of call. And seeking that support is really important. Often students find, not everybody, but some students find that GCSEs are relatively straightforward for some students, and then the step up to A-levels is quite tough. Some people find GCSEs tough and find the step up to A-levels even tougher. But it is something that people talk about. It's not something to be scared by, it's just something to make sure that you're conscious of and that you ask for help when you need it. The next one of my key expectations is we expect students to engage in additional activities. There's so many brilliant opportunities to take part in the sixth form. And one of the key things that I said right back in my interview over 2 years ago was that one of the great things about the sixth form is not just about getting A-level results, it's about having a brilliant experience. And whether that is taking part in sports, or whether it is going on trips, or whether it is taking part in school productions, or helping helping out in lower school. There's so many different opportunities to take part in, which again I'll talk about a bit more on the next slide. But we want students to get involved in that. We expect them to get involved because there's something for everybody. The next point is about conduct, and it's quite a short point on here, but there will be an information pack which will be coming out. We're going to post it out Friday because there's still a couple of bits that we're going to talk about with our senior staff tomorrow, which I'll mention in a minute. There is a code of conduct for our sixth form. 99% of the time, we don't need to use that because the students in our sixth form know how we expect them to behave. And so I don't really talk about it in lots of detail necessarily, because you could probably write a list right now of the things we expect. I've already talked about them, some of them, about being here and being engaged and being on time and all that sort of stuff. But from time to time, there are some students who don't kind of make the transition from GCSE to A-level mindset as quickly as we hope, and they're still, a year 11 student, 6 weeks older, and occasionally we have a few issues around kind of attitude to learning or stuff like that. And so we do have a code of conduct which basically says what we expect and what you can expect from us in terms of quality teaching, quality support. And the detail of that code of conduct will be in the booklet, which will be sent out later this week. There's nothing you wouldn't expect in it. It is what you can expect from us and what we should expect from you, and also parents. What's the parents' involvement in that? Trying to support us so that we have those students in school as much as possible, not making appointments that can be made outside of the school day, in the school day, that sort of thing. And I'd just like to reiterate a point about that. I think some people think that as students are getting older and they're in the sixth form, that we don't, that the role of the parent is somehow diminished. And actually, I don't agree with that at all. That actually that link between us at school and the parents at home is really, really important. And we will do our best to communicate when things are going well as when they may not be, because we know that when we work together, we get the best results. As is exactly the same lower school. The next point specifically on here is about dress code. I'm going to pick out 2 or 3 key things. The dress code gets updated from year to year. There are a couple of, I know that I've already had a couple of emails about this, and there are some key questions here. The 2 points that are on the slide in front of you, I'll start with. The first thing is, if you're going to do anything crazy, like something, to be fair, we've had lockdown and I've seen lots of crazy haircuts and piercings and like that. If you're going to do anything like that, then get out of the way early in the summer, because when we come back, there are certain expectations around the dress code, which I'll come on to again in a second. The lanyards it mentions there, we introduced these a year ago. It's fairly standard practice in most buildings, public buildings, office buildings across the country. People wear a lanyard around the neck with an ID badge. We didn't used to do that. We started this year. That is now expected, that when you are on site, you are wearing a lanyard around your neck that identifies you with your ID badge. Those ID badges can also be used for printing and all that sort of stuff. We will expect that people wear lanyards all day, every day when they're on site. It's a safeguarding issue, so that we can identify students. So a couple of key things about the dress code. Essentially, we ask students to be reasonable. We expect students to be reasonably smart, but we don't have a business wear code like some sixth forms do. You are allowed to wear jeans, you are allowed to wear trainers, but we don't want them to be ripped jeans. We want them to be reasonably smart jeans. That I can't confirm 100% right now, but I have been emailed about, so I'm going to mention it. We have got a senior staff meeting tomorrow, and I'm putting in front of them an updated dress code. And in the updated dress code, I'm suggesting that students will be able to wear hoodies, which they currently cannot. I can't confirm that right now because senior staff are going to give their input on it tomorrow, but it will be, the dress code will be updated and will be sent out in the documentation I send out on Friday. Okay. The key things really are we don't allow sportswear apart from on a Wednesday afternoon when we do sport. We do not want like nose rings and facial piercings, and we don't want pink hair. And one of the key things that's crept in recently is kind of really short skirts, crop tops, that sort of stuff. So we generally don't want to see. We want you smart for school. You're still role models for the rest of the school. So smart jeans, trainers, shirts, t-shirts, and we hope hoodies, but I will confirm that later in the week via the documentation. The next point on my slide is parking. It won't be an issue straight away, apart from the people who are the oldest in the year and pass their test very quickly. But as the time in the sixth form goes on, more and more students pass their driving tests, and more students want to drive to school, despite the fact that they only live 2 minutes away. So we have to have, because of the nature of the parking situation, we have to say that sixth formers can't park on site. Okay, so I would highly recommend that if you live close enough to walk or cycle, that you do, and if you live further away than that, then you try and lift share, or even when you've passed your test, you share with, you give some of your friends a lift and get here early enough to park in the spaces out the front of the school and not on the school site, because we just don't have enough space for staff to park and for 356 formers to park. I'm going to come back to the subject review deadlines in a moment. Ordinarily now I would pause and take some questions, but if you have got any questions about anything I've said so far, it would be great if you either made a note of it or put it into the chat in the team session. I am going to pause though to see if Mr. Humphreys wants to add anything to that point. Do you want to add anything important I've missed, Mr. Humphreys?
Nothing that's been said so far. No, it seems okay.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so if we go on to the next slide then. Nope. So the next slide, it calls itself, on this slide it says electives. More broadly, we're talking about enrichment. This is the other brilliant opportunities that exist in the sixth form. And an elective is just a term for something you would elect to do in terms of your enrichment. Now, if you start on 4 A-levels, you don't need to do one of these straight away. Lots of our students do. Lots of our students will do 4 A-levels and do one of these electives. Some students who do 4 A-levels and they do 2 or 3 electives. It really depends on the student and how organised they are with their time. But if you start on 3 A-levels, we will expect you to do at least one of these electives. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat that because it's quite important. If you start on 4 A-levels, we won't expect you to do one of these that way, although you can choose to do so. If you start on 3 courses, then we will expect that you do at least one of the electives or enrichment. Okay, I'm just going to quite a long list that's just coming up now, and I'm not going to talk through all of these. The EPQ is an extended project qualification. I've already started speaking to some Year 11s who are keen to get started on this. If you're not one of those and you feel like you've missed out, you haven't yet, I will be launching the EPQ properly again in September. The EPQ is a fantastic qualification, which is worth half an A-level. But the key thing that it's great for is developing skills, because it is an independent research project where you'll be able to do a piece of research about a topic of your choice for the best part of a year, and that you do a piece of research, you academically research it, you write an essay or you create a product of some sort. Universities love it because they often it's the skills that they want you to have, and often universities will give you a reduced offer in order to go there. If you get a very good mark, you get an A or a B sometimes. But like I say, I will be doing a proper launch of that in September. The DOV Gold is the Duke of Edinburgh Award. Again, I'm not going to go into that in lots of detail now, but the key thing is if you've never been involved in the Duke of Edinburgh Award, but you want to, it is possible to start at the beginning of Year 12 and by the end of Year 13 have got your DOV Gold Award, which not many people do. It's still quite a prestigious thing. Core maths is aimed at students who want to develop their math skills, but maybe either don't want to do A-level maths or don't have the entry requirements to do it. The core maths is more of a practical kind of applied maths. And so if you passed maths but haven't got a grade high enough to do A-level maths, but you're still hoping to, I don't know, do engineering in the future, for example, or architecture, then core maths is a really good qualification. And again, increasingly, universities are really respecting it. For example, Bath University are quite clear about the value of core maths on their website. I'm just going to take two of these points together broadly: volunteering and mentoring. We have lots and lots of students who volunteer outside of school, volunteer at local care homes, volunteer at local primary schools. It's quite common for students who are keen to do teaching in the future, go to universities trained to be teachers, that they have a link to a primary school already, and they might volunteer, once a week on a Tuesday afternoon for the whole time they're in the sixth form, which is obviously fantastic work experience for them. We have had links to local care homes. Some of this will obviously be affected by the pandemic, but we do encourage students to do volunteering in the local community as much as possible. Mentoring is kind of volunteering within the school to mentor younger students, and Dr. Butler in the science faculty organises early on training for year 12 who are keen to do that, and students may mentor somebody lower down the school in terms of engagement or particular subject they're struggling with, all sorts of things. BSL is British Sign Language. We're a school for hearing impaired students, and so we've got one of our TAs for the last year has been teaching sign language to sixth formers that opt for that. One lesson a week, not necessarily to get a qualification, but to improve your CVs and your application forms. We're trying to grow a marketing team, which is students who have got a real interest in filmmaking or social media, that sort of thing, to try and improve, share the good news stories that our sixth formers are involved in a lot. And that's a fairly new one that we tried to get off the ground at the end of the year just before COVID closed us down. You get involved in the whole school eco council. I'll come back to MOOCs in a second. We've run for a year now beginners Russian. So one of our language teachers speaks Russian. She offered to, again, it won't be for a qualification, but it stands out on a CV a mile that if you've got some Russian. So that's been running for a year, and we'll continue again this year. Some students who don't pass English and maths will have the opportunity to retake, and there will be English and maths resit classes for those students. And the last one on there is MOOCs. A MOOC, for those of you that don't know, is a massive open online course. Essentially, they are free online courses from some of the best universities in the world and others, which you can study almost anything you want for free for, say, an hour a week, 10 weeks or something. And lots of our students are doing those now to show prospective employers and prospective universities that they are engaged in a particular subject beyond their A-level curriculum. Okay. Okay. So there are, and a bit more on the next slide. So those are the key kind of options for electives, as we call them. There are lots of other enrichment options as well, but those are some of the key ones. Core maths and EQ come with UCAS points. The others are about enhancing your CV and your employability, really. Okay, again, I would pause there for questions, but if you want to put them in the chat, I can come back to them when I finish going through these slides in a moment. I'm not going to run through all of these. These are lots of other additional opportunities that exist in the sixth form. I will mention the bursary quickly. If you've got family income below £25,000, there is government funding available, which goes directly to the student, which we pay a nominal fee each term, and then we ask them what other things we could be spending that money on to help them. So sometimes it's about subsidising trips or buying textbooks, that sort of stuff. So there'll be a form that goes out this week as well, and it's on the website about the bursary. Most of the things on there are fairly self-explanatory. I will mention that the work shadow obviously didn't happen this year, but at the end of year 12, it is our intention that every year 12 will do a week's work experience. Obviously, we don't know what that's going to look like by the time you get there next July, but that is our intention to still keep that if we can get the employers to support it. And similarly, at the bottom there, it talks about an overseas expedition. We've got students next summer going to Zambia, and we had students a year ago. I was very lucky that this time last year I was in Zanzibar with 25 year 12s, and our plan is that we will launch an expedition in the new year, which will be for the end of, for this cohort, it will be for summer 2022, but there'll be more details about that in September. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next slide. Okay, enrollment arrangements is slightly different for different students. So if you're a Sheldon student, basically details have gone out this week about results day. Essentially what happens is you will get your results, and in your results envelope there will be a message from the sixth form team which will say either you have met the entry requirements for all the things you want to do, and we will see you on September the 4th, Friday, September the 4th, or it will say you have met your entry requirements for most things, but this particular subject you haven't, and maybe we need to have a conversation. And ordinarily we would have lots of those conversations on the day. What we're going to do slightly differently this year is you'll need to make an appointment, because obviously we don't want large groups of people queuing outside my office. So you'll need to make an appointment if that is you. Also, if you've changed your mind about subjects you want to do, you will need to make an appointment to speak to either myself or Mr. Humphreys. And so you will need to come over to the sixth form office or email the sixth form office to make an appointment. We'll see as many people as we can that day, and then we'll make appointments over the coming days to clear up as many of those as possible. There may be a very small number each year of students who don't meet the entry requirements for the sixth form. We always have a conversation with them about what's best in terms of moving forward. Sometimes we can come to some arrangement, but there will be Joe Brown, our careers advisor, is around as well to talk about other possibilities. But that is usually pretty unusual, but it does happen from time to time. In terms of external applicants, I think everybody's been told this already. If you're applying from elsewhere, then the key thing we ask for is if you're getting GCSE results on that day, that you either email us a copy that day, or certainly by the end of the next day, so that we've got a copy of your A-level of your GCSE results. And if there's no other changes, then that's all we need. If that means that you think that you want to change your mind because you've done better in subjects than you thought you would, and you want to change your options, then again you'll need to email us your results and say that you want an appointment to discuss your subject choices. And I will make it really clear right now that I spend a lot of time between results day and the end of September dealing with course changes. Okay, it's not unusual for people to change their mind when they get their results, or get into the first couple of weeks of lessons and then change their mind. That's not unusual. And so obviously it's better that we don't do lots of chopping and changing. And after the end of September, it becomes really difficult to do that, because obviously the longer it goes on, the more you've missed things. So we want to get those changes sorted out by the end of September, really. And the last thing on that slide is about the information booklet. There will be an information booklet. Like I say, it's done, it's ready to go. We're just obviously waiting for the senior staff team tomorrow to confirm the update of the dress code, and then that will go out to everybody by the end of the week. It will certainly go out electronically to all the Sheldon students immediately, and it will be posted out to anybody who's applied from elsewhere, and it will go on the website as well. And in that information booklet, it's got basically everything up to tonight, but also it's got specifically a copy of the dress code and the code of conduct and other bits and pieces. Okay, right, we're nearly there. But this is quite an important slide. So September, basically, staff are back in school on Tuesday the 1st for a training day. On Wednesday the 2nd and Thursday the 3rd, it's basically going to be year 7 having induction, the new year 7, but I will be able to meet with year 12 who have got subject queries. If we've not been able to clear them up beforehand, myself and Mr. Humphrey will be able to meet people on those days to deal with some subject queries. But the key date for most of you will be Friday the 4th at 8:30 in the morning. Will be induction, year 12 induction. And it will be a similar day to what we would have had last week. So on that day, you will meet your tutor, you will receive your timetables, and you will get other information. If you're new to the school, you get maps and all that sort of stuff, and get buddied up with people. And you will then go to taster sessions for subjects that you are planning on taking. So they'll be able to check to see, have you done any bridging work? Is this really what you thought it was going to be? All that sort of stuff, ahead of lessons starting properly on Monday the 7th. Okay, so those are the two key dates for you after the results day: Friday the 4th for induction and Monday the 7th for lessons starting. And just another reminder there that then people do change subject. People change their, they started on 4 and realise that actually the workload is too much and they drop to 3, or they want to swap something. And as much as possible, we will try and accommodate those up until the end of September. It's not always possible to, because obviously some groups will be full, but we do try and accommodate that as much as possible up until the end of September. And then some key things here really in terms of some of you will have brothers and sisters that have been in this week for one-to-ones in year 7, 8, and 9. And we have already had year 10s and year 12s back in over recent weeks. And lots of these things are in place already and it's working well. Obviously, it's going to be different in September because there's going to be more people in school. On the right-hand side are some of the key things that we'll be doing. The school day is going to look broadly similar. We haven't kind of redesigned our entire timetable, but there will be staggered lunches and breaks, and tutor time will not be at the same time for everybody in order to allow those staggered lunches and breaks. So the timetables will look slightly different, but essentially we're working towards the same timetable, but with slightly staggered lunches and breaks to minimise different year groups being in contact at break time and lunchtime. There will be a one-way system around the whole school. Almost every entrance and exit to any building will be either in or out, and every staircase in the school will be either up or down, and there'll be a one-way system around the school to try and minimise contact between year groups. There is obviously we're going to be encouraging hand washing and allowing time for that. There is sanitizer in every room in the school, and we'll be asking students to hand sanitize before they come in and when they leave. And there are social distancing kind of signage and markers on floors around the entire site. We'll be encouraging that as much as possible too. Unfortunately, to start with, there won't be any assemblies. Usually we try and get the year group together once a week for key messages. That won't be able to happen initially, but we will either be doing them via something like this each week, or we'll be doing it, half a year group at a time or a quarter of the year at a time. But we will find a way to get students together collectively, because I think it's really important that they still feel part of a community as opposed to just classes of students. A key change for ordinarily year 12 would be in school all day every day anyway. We expect students from September to Christmas in year 12 to be in school all day every day in terms of their study time, and then later they can earn home study. And so if you've got a free period at the start of the day or at the end of the day, you can earn home study. Is the ordinary way that this happens after Christmas. Once you've established very good attendance, meeting deadlines, etc., you can earn home study. But essentially, to start with, everybody's going to be in school all day every day. A key change is that usually one of the freedoms that the sixth form can have is that we allow them off-site for lunch. And to start with in September, that is not going to be the case, because we want to minimise movement on and off-site. And the classic thing is people going off-site to go to Lidl to get their lunch. Well, every time you do that, you're going to be in contact with all the other people in Lidl. And so we're trying to maintain the year group bubble as much as possible to start with, not going off-site at lunchtime. Okay, so that's a key message there, which is, so if you there will be food available in the common room to purchase, But if you're somebody who goes off site to buy a sandwich or something, then it may be worth planning for bringing a packed lunch. If you don't want to buy lunch in the common room every day, then you need to start planning for bringing a packed lunch, because we want to keep people in school all day to protect that bubble. Penultimate point on there is about supervised study. Students always have some supervised study. We supervised this year. We've supervised the study room 50% of the time. The common room's not supervised, but the study room is for quiet, silent study. This year, we're going to supervise the study room a bit more, so that we can try and maintain some of these standards, and so that we can get into really good study habits right from the start of the year. And a key thing that I've been asked a few times is the last point on here, which is, so what happens if we get a second spike, second week in September, or whenever? And the simple answer to that is, we are much more prepared as a leadership team and as a team of heads of faculty to move things online. Essentially, the key message that our heads of faculty have had is, as we're teaching, when we come back in September, whatever we're teaching in the classroom needs to be being saved onto Microsoft Teams as we go along, and put in lessons which have materials on Microsoft Teams, so that if we then need to switch quite quickly over to going remote, then we're going to be in a much better position to do that this time, because staff are now trained on it, we're more used to using it, and so even when we're back and we're in the classroom, we will be sharing resources via Teams, and some people will be setting their homework and taking it in via Teams and that sort of stuff, so that if we do need to go remote again, then we are set up to do that. And we're also aware that there will be some students who won't be able to come back in straight away in September because of their health condition, because of other reasons perhaps, and so there will be provision for that via Teams going forward. Okay, that's a lot of information fired at you. So I'm going to take a breath and see if point. I've got some questions that came in via email, and I'm just going to check the chat to see if anything else has come through now. Mr. Humphries, anything you want to add while I'm just having a quick look at this?
No, I think you've covered most things. Things that students often ask is sixth form games, because obviously I'm a PE teacher, so it's something I'm connected to. So it's on a Wednesday afternoon. All students are expected to participate. Normally, we'd have 13 or so activities for students to opt into. We're not quite sure how that's going to look in September, but the expectation is we'll provide as many activities as possible. It's a mixture of recreational activities and competitive activities, so we still have rugby teams, football teams, hockey teams, netball teams. There's no PE uniform. I think that was one of the email questions earlier in the day. There's no formal kit for PE. All we ask is that students wear appropriate PE kit for the activity that they're doing, and that they don't wear clothes for PE that they've been wearing during the school day. So obviously a hygiene point of view. Yes, that's it in terms of PE. Yeah, I think pretty much everything else was covered quite comprehensively.
Can I just add on that point? Can you just and it'll be part of our meeting discussion tomorrow with the senior staff about how that might work, because like Mr. Humphries said, usually we would have the whole sixth form doing some sports, some activity on a Wednesday afternoon, and we want that to happen as much as possible. I'm having a meeting tomorrow to discuss what that might look like, and whether we might have to rotate people throughout the afternoon so that we're not all doing it at the same time. But like I say, we'll confirm details about that as soon as it's been confirmed. Our intention is to continue that because we really value Wednesday afternoon activity and sport. I'm just looking through a couple of other questions that came up via email earlier. So you've already been or come in other ways, and then I'll work my way through the chat. timetables. Usually timetables will be given out on Friday the 4th. The reason we don't send them out, we're not going to send them out now, is because if we send them out now, we'll have to reprint a lot of them come the first week in September as people change their mind about the courses that they want to do. And so those timetables will be issued by your tutor on Friday the 4th of September. We will let you know who your tutor is going to be, but again, we'll probably do that in September and let you know where you need to go to meet that tutor in that first week. So that, again, that would have been done this side of the summer. You would have met your tutor last week, but you're not going to meet them until Friday the 4th. So we'll let you know where you need to go and who that tutor is going to be in that week. Another question that came up prior to the meeting was about equipment and science. You are not expected to buy or bring your own equipment. The current situation with science or any other subject really where you're going to be using equipment like DT, for example, is that they are planning for cleaning of equipment in between sessions, or having enough equipment that they can have one set of equipment being cleaned whilst another set is being used by a class. But if you want to bring in your own equipment, or if you want to bring your own goggles to science lessons, then you're welcome to do so. But there is no expectation that you will be needing to bring any of your own equipment, but that our science technicians and DT technicians, etc., will be cleaning equipment in between usage by students. Well, I'm just going to scroll through the text chat if there's anything I've missed. Sorry, I missed earlier people volunteering to not be on the call so that my laptop would work better and watch the recording later. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I think we'll just stick to Apple phone. No, it's not an advert for Apple. Stick to this phone that works rather than my laptop that doesn't. Right, I'm just scrolling down to see if there's any others. Don't think so. Oh, somebody's asked, do we have priority in the lunch queue over younger years? The simple answer to that is no. And actually, it's a good point though that you reminded me about. Ordinarily, sixth formers would be able to go to any of the 6 or 7 food outlets around the school to get their lunch. When we come back in September, that will be something that is different, because as much as possible, we're going to try and keep year groups apart. That's the advice from government, is year groups become the bubble. And so as much as possible, we're going to try and keep year groups apart. And that means that for the time being, at least, the food outlet in the sixth form common room is the one that sixth formers use. And so they are going to be putting on a broader offer and doing more food, and they're going to be starting it a bit earlier and serving it a bit later, is my understanding, because we're saying you're not going to go out for lunch, so they're going to need to feed you. So you won't be using the other facilities around the school, so you won't need to push in front of younger students. You will need to queue in a responsible way in the common room. And somebody else asked a question about the price of a meal. For a hot meal in the school is usually around £2. And like I say, they're expanding the offer, and so there's usually a different range of things in the sixth form room anyway, from sandwiches to pizza slices, and some of the stuff they don't sell in the rest of the school. You get a bit more choice because we trust you to make a range of choices, mostly healthy, hopefully. So hopefully that answers that question. What do you anticipate will happen regarding music lessons from visiting peripatetics? Is another question that's come up. It's a bit of a mixed bag at the moment. We discussed that a little while ago, where some of those visiting music teachers have already moved some of their operations online and are doing it via Teams and Zoom. Some of that will continue. Where we can do it in school, but in a socially distanced way, i.e. in a room where you can sit a certain distance apart, then that will be able to continue. And so it partly depends on the instrument, and it partly depends on the visiting peripatetic teacher. Some of the visiting teachers don't want to go out and visit schools. They're going to try and do it all online for the time being. And some of them are coming in and they're doing it in a socially distanced way. So it may depend on the individual teacher and it may depend on the instrument. The next question is about after school clubs. We're a school that prides ourselves on having a massive after school extracurricular offer. We hope to be able to offer as many of those things as possible. I know that I've already spoken to Mr. Humphries, will back me up on this in a minute. As much as possible, we are going to be offering, whether it's sport, whether it's performing arts, whether it's media clubs. We want to be able to offer as many school clubs as possible. Still, is the intention. But again, we might have to watch this space and come back to that in September, because it may depend on what's going on with transport and what's going on with guidance from elsewhere. I know, for example, when it comes to particular sport, which was part of the question that was asked prior to the meeting, was each individual sports governing body is saying different things at different times. So, for example, we will probably be able to do football and cricket, is my understanding, but probably not rugby, for example. Is that right, Mr. Humphries?
Well, cricket started again this weekend with certain guidelines. I think we'll just be guided by the governing bodies. So as soon as they come up, change their guidance. So at the moment, I think football, you're allowed to train in small groups. Yeah, so basically it will keep sort of increasing as the year goes on, and what we do in PE will be guided by that, really. But yeah, our intention is to return to normal or try and present as close to normal as possible. But yeah, there might be some still some obstacles when we come back in September.
Yeah, fantastic. A few other questions that have just come through. Will it be the same food company? Sorry, Rob, can you just mute again? Thanks. Will it be the same food company making the meals? Somebody's craving the wedges. I'm not sure if that's got a happy face by it. No, it's got a sick face and a thumbs up. So it is still the same company that we had last year. Aspen's are still doing our food. Do we have to wear masks? No, you don't have to wear masks. Although the government is saying as of next week, you would have seen that people have to wear masks in shops and on public transport. They're saying at the moment, they're categorically saying that in offices and in schools that you don't have to wear masks. Now, one of the key pieces of information in what we've been looking at is the key social distancing message in school is about keeping distance between students and the teachers. Social distancing between students is encouraged, but the key piece of social distancing in school is between the teacher and the student. And it's a similar thing with masks. We've had people in this week who have worn masks in this week for their one-to-one, and when the sixth form were in last week, year 12 were in last week, some of them did wear masks. If you want to wear a mask in school, you're absolutely able to do that, but there is no expectation for you to wear a mask in school. And another question about food, which is about paying for stuff. Excuse me. It says, will the food be paid for with the thumbprint? Most students, certainly most year 11 students who are in the school, will know the biometric system, paying for it with a fingerprint. It's slightly different in the sixth form common room food outlet, which is that you can do that, but you do also have the ability to pay on a card or on Apple Pay. So you do have a bit more flexibility than the rest of the school, in that you can pay not on your fingerprint, but on Apple Pay or a card or something like that. There are a few people saying hello to your dog, Mr. Humphries. There's a few woofs saying hello to the dogs. And somebody's just asked the question again about finding out about tutors and timetables. That will now be in the first week in September. Timetables will be on Friday the 4th. We will send you a message prior to that to let you know who your tutor is and where to meet them on Friday the 4th. Question about paying for food with cash. They don't take cash in any of the food outlets. They didn't do that before COVID. They're certainly not going to start doing it now. Well, okay. I hope that's covered all the questions that have come through on the chat. Like I say, this has been recorded. We have set a record. I think it's a Sheldon record for the time being, until somebody does a assembly with the whole year group. I think at our highest point we had 156 people in this team session. I'm really grateful for you to for tuning in. I'm really sorry about the technical issues at the start. I'm really keen to get back in September. Well, I'm really keen for a summer holiday. Let's be clear. Let's be honest. But when September comes, I'm really keen to get started with a new year group. I know Mr. Humphries will be too, and we will try and make it as normal as it can be. But we're keen to get into classes and get on with doing A-level stuff. Last question was about has it been recorded? Yes, it's been recorded. And unless anybody tells me otherwise that they don't want it to go onto the website, then I will put it on the website by the end of the week so that anybody who missed it can see it, who's external. But a link will also be emailed round to all the Sheldon students so that you can see it within the school portal anyway. Okay. I'm sorry it's not been very interactive with us just giving you lots of information. And if there are questions that you wanted to ask that you didn't want to put in the chat, then feel free to email me afterwards and I will catch up with them before the end of the week. And look out for the welcome booklet, which has got lots of information in it as well in the next few days. Okay. I hope that's answered lots of questions and reassured people. We're really looking forward to having you in the sixth form and getting cracking. And really, really well done to those of you that have been engaging really well with some of the bridging work. That's fantastic. It's not essential if you haven't done lots of that, but those of you that have, well done. It's great. But have a break over the summer and we will see you on results day. Okay. Thank you.
Sir?
Yes.
Do we have to socially distance from teachers and classmates?
You need to socially distance from teachers. That's the key piece of information about socially distancing. We're told to encourage social distancing amongst classmates, but the government guidelines are saying we can put you in a classroom together so long as you're in the same year group, and so that's essentially the bubble.
So it won't decrease class sizes.
We will encourage social distancing, but you do need to keep 2 meters away from teachers. Yeah. So what was the last question?
Honestly, does it decrease class sizes then or not?
No.
Okay, lovely.
No.
Thank you.
Over the last few weeks, we've been keeping class sizes low, but as of September, the government is saying the bubble becomes the year group, and so class sizes are less important because you're going to be sticking just year groups together and not mixing beyond those. All right. Brilliant. Thank you all so much, and I look forward to seeing you results day and in September. If you have any other questions in the meantime, email them through and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Woof woof.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to stop the recording. Maybe I'll record it.
Thank you. Bye.
I'm going to stop the recording.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Oh my god. Wait.
Cheers.
Well, boys, that was pretty good.
Alan. Really good. Oh, funny guy. It's just at the end. Peppa Pig.